Darkstalkers weren't or ever will be dead. So this is a counterpoint to where the last layer started, being that even though we haven't had a new game in forever, the fandom and love for the series still exist. And again, they keep on appearing in cameos and releases still. I mean, it's something. It's mostly that first part that's the big point of this. And being that as long as people continue to play and like and enjoy Darkstalkers and bring it up and everything, then it won't ever be dead. This is what can lead it to getting a new game sometime. However, even if that never happens, Darkstalkers will still not be dead, because the fandom and people who appreciate it will still be there. Series was purposely sabotaged. Okay, this sounds like a sudden dark turn to take from that, but I'll make sure to end it on positive notes. If you remember in the last layer, we talked about how the re-releases actually sold well, and Capcom acted like that didn't happen. And this has led to the point where people say that for whatever reason, they just purposely sabotaged the series. They purposely re-released the game like multiple times at poor times, and then just like kind of brushed any of the sales it had aside just so they didn't have to make a new series or anything. We don't know why they won't want to make a new Darkstalkers, but this was during the early 2010s when Capcom was basically at their worst, and I'm sure a lot of you know and remember this and are glad that they improved a bit. However, that's just it. They've improved a bit since then. Capcom isn't the same as they were at that time, and at that time they were a horribly baffling, stupid shit company. But that's mostly healed. We're still feeling the effects of that time, and they're still not perfect, obviously. Like, I mentioned the neglect of other series, many series in the last layer too. However, it's still an improvement. People who were around then are no longer around now. And the fighting game division in particular definitely seems to have recently taken a much needed reform. So you can probably trust a bit more that they wouldn't do this. I mean, Capcom Fighting Collection did happen after all. So maybe, just maybe, it's more likely now than ever, or at the very least at that time, that a new Darkstalkers can happen, and they will acknowledge the series more often, and they won't treat it as shittily. Fetus of God Adult. This is the entry that I got from View 2, because this was on their Iceberg as like the last thing, and I thought it was an interesting idea. And Fetus of God, we know basically nothing about it. It's in Jedha's realm, it's the name of his theme, and that's about it. We just know it exists in some form, and you know, it kind of gives off the vibes of like a world-ending entity or something, and again, it's a fetus of God. So that just has to make you wonder, what would this thing grow into if it grows up? Midnight Bliss Raptor Cigarette is a Mandela effect. So this is something that I spotted on my own that could mean nothing, or it could just be something slightly more interesting, but hey, it's very vague and speculative, which is why it's all the way down here, and only I care about this. Anyway, if you go look up Midnight Bliss form of Lord Raptor, you will see in most of them that she's smoking a cigarette. However, if you look at the actual sprites, I don't see a cigarette anywhere, unless if I'm just blind or something. Like, I just see her appear, then Jedha grabs her, and she pulls out a gun from somewhere and tries to shoot him, but I don't see her smoking anywhere. And I mean, I'm guessing that whoever just made this originally thought that it fit her and gave it onto her. That's the only place where I can assume where it came from, but there's so many other pieces of fan art that do it, and I don't know, I almost feel like that they all copied it from a source from somewhere, and it's come to the point where like that's just become like a natural part of her character, and it's not uncommon to still see it. So yeah, I'm just like chalking this up that like it's this strange like fan created idea for that's very prominent and people just kind of treat as canon, even though it was never actually there in the game. D and Edgeworth connection. Okay, I know that as the last entry, this kind of sounds like a joke, and yeah, it is a little bit silly, but it's still fucking interesting nonetheless, because, I mean, look at this image that I put together as the last image of the Iceberg chart image. How many times did I just say image? Anyway, just look at it. Like, you can't deny that they look strikingly similar. It's fucking crazy just how similar they look in that. Like, I mean, they're even doing the same arm crossing pose. They have the same fucking face. They got the same thing going on in the front of their hair. They're dressed practically the same. It's fucking insane. And they also made their big debuts at around the same time, and they're both Capcom characters, so... You know, it just makes you think, like, maybe there's been some influence and one inspired the other in some regard. I mean, it doesn't sound too unlikely or crazy at all because of all those reasons, and it's pretty fucking funny and almost spooky. Chorus for Darkstalkers 4 confirmed. Alright, that does it for the Darkstalkers Iceberg. I know it was a short one, and definitely a more obscure series that a lot of people probably aren't going to watch, but if you did, I appreciate that you did, and I'm glad that you did, and I've got more stuff coming up then, so see you around.